Alright, so today we're in Kayla and I's home garage for obvious reasons, kind of self-isolating, staying away from all the craziness that's going on. And anyway, we thought this would be a good time to start digging into the track cars and try to get them ready for track season, although it looks like that's going to be delayed about a month or so. So really we have to do it at some point, so better now than wait until the last minute like I usually do every other year. So yeah, let's get into it. Basically what we're digging into with Kayla's car, it had a leaky oil pan for quite some time. The pan's been patched a few times, I'll show you guys that in a bit. So what we gathered was a shallower pan from either a Mk5 R32 or the 3.2 liter A3s. I picked this up online. Needs a little bit of work, but it's definitely better shape than the one that's on the car now, and I'll show you. Just basically has a little spot there that needs to be fixed and maybe a little crack that might have to be ground out and welded. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be removing the oil level sensor since we don't need that. Obviously cleaning the pan up a bit more, taking the original pan off, and by putting a shallower pan on the vehicle, you have to upgrade the pump. And what we have here is just the pump that's for the shallower pan, so it's from a Mk5 R32 or the 3.2 liter A3. And what I'll do is I'll attach all the part numbers of stuff I used in the bottom of the video, so everybody knows exactly what I use for this application. So I'm just going over some of the stuff now. Obviously, like I said, I have the pan here. I'll open this up in a bit, but that's the brand new oil pump that we have for the vehicle. I wouldn't really suggest using a used one. Oil pump's a pretty important thing to have. Oil your engine, it's the heart of the engine. Anyway, another thing that I was actually quite surprised with the Mk5 pan was that it actually comes with this this baffling. Quite surprised to actually see that because the stock pan doesn't really have that great of baffling in it. So that's going to be a bonus as well. But basically the parts that I had to pick up, that's all the bolts that hold that pan or the baffling in. We have a block off plate, which is for the oil level sensor. Again, I'll attach all the part numbers at the bottom. New seal for it. Some nice OE sealant for the pan. We won't need that today because I do still need to do a little bit of work to this pan before it goes on. You got the 3 bolts that are for the oil pump, 2 for a pickup, and then a new seal where it actually meets the block. So that's that, and I'll show you guys under the car so you can see how messed up the pan is already. Alright, so as you can see, this pan has taken a beating. Dave's actually welded a few plates on it for us a couple times now, and it continues to leak, and it's quite a leaky boy, so it's time to retire this one. And we don't even run the car that low, but I just think with our roads and the way the car is set up, obviously for track purposes, that it just needs a shallower pan, and we're going to definitely benefit from having another inch of clearance or so under this thing. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Oh god.
Righty tighty, lefty loosey. I'm stuck. It's gonna make a mess, guaranteed. Oh, not too bad. Most of our audience, I think, are pretty much Volkswagen owners, so you've probably had a pan off once or twice because everybody likes being slammed and all that good stuff. So, but basically on these, there's a couple spots where it should bolt through the transmission bell housing into the pan. And for the rest of the ones that are in the pan itself, I'm just going to zap those out with the gun because ain't nobody got time to take those out by hand. Aha. Either the gun battery's a little bit low or this, because this is so long. Well, it's not that long, but because it's a little long, I'm probably losing a little bit of the old torque, but I don't even give a frig, Kill. Just drop the pump down. There's this pickup tube that we need to transfer over to the new pump. It's just 2 5mm Allen bolts here, and then 2 6mm Allen bolts back here, I believe. Come right down. Make a big mess. Oh yeah. So there's still oil in the block, obviously. Yeah, you just make a mess. It's fine. So you have to change over this rod as well. This goes up through the block into another spot that drives the oil pump. So I'm just gonna, no pump or anything's up in place. I'm just gonna place it up in here. Take a quick look to make sure that everything looks okay. the old pan sat pretty much in line with the subframe, and this is like, you got a good inch there now. At least. So I'm gonna take a quick look. I'm gonna make a mess here rolling through the oil. This is the part that Dave says to clean up after yourself and not leave oil on the floor, because I'm gonna do exactly what he hates, and really I don't like it either, but whatever. I'm just gonna take a quick look to make sure. So hold it up with the arm. Yeah, there's only one spot it can go, so that's where it's gonna go. But everything looks good. Everything clears. We're good to go. Next thing you'll see is this going over to Dave's to get welded and then back in the car.
What? So what?
What are you doing for me here?
Welding the damn pan up again for the 100th time.
Not this one, the other one.
Yeah.
100 times.
Good
Like
point.
6 plates.
So I have to just fix one little crack and weld in the new oil return bung for Kayla's R32.
Cool. And looking over here, the Mark 1 Caddy. Are we putting that on the dyno this week or what?
Yeah, it's on the dyno later this week.
Everything's running now.
Runs.
Happy with?
It runs. We have to just basically tie up the harness and get the throttle pedal in. Everything else is done. It's
awesome.
ready to put on the dyno, and then this one's next. One of the next, I guess. There's plenty, but this one is going to be decent amount of power, hopefully.
Big turbo 180.
Big turbo 180 again, yeah.
Not a KO4.
Not a KO4.
Actual big turbo.
Yeah.
And another update while Dave's doing that. Didn't forget about this yet. What? No, I'm not allowed to talk about this one. No. All right. Never mind. I was going to give you guys an update, but Dave says no. Am I allowed to talk about anything that you have here? Like what about what you have under here? This? No? You gotta give a little bit of an update on something, just not the caddy.
So this one is for a buddy of ours, Greg. It's a 180. We're shooting for like 700 wheel horsepower. No, 800.
I thought that was yours.
No.
Oh yeah, yours is gone.
This is Greg's.
Ah.
Yeah. I think I told him 800. We should try for 800. So.
Which is what Mark II drag car.
Mark II drag car, yeah.
And it looks like you have a couple of welding projects on the go. Maybe 180 manifold.
I was gonna get into this kind of separately, but I probably won't have time.
We could touch on it.
It's a China manifold that, they seem like a great idea when you purchase them, but it cracked all over the place and there's no real recovering this thing. It's all the flanges. Every flange is warped.
Yeah, what schedule tubing is that? Like for a manifold?
0.
Right? Yeah.
It's just like actual tubing, not pipe. And since the turbo kit's all built around that manifold, the guy who owns it is trying to get me to build a replacement manifold to kind of fit into his existing setup, so he doesn't have to redo his downpipe and his wastegate dump and the location and all that stuff. So so I'm basically trying to replicate one of these China knockoff turbo manifolds.
Yeah. And you gotta use
on my makeshift welding table that I don't have. This is all I got going on right now, so new welding table in the works. But
and this is what you gotta use here, like that adapter too, or
yeah, he's running a turbo off of
who knows?
I don't know what it was off of, maybe an SRT4 or something.
One of those instances where it's like, I'm saving money now, but I'm going to spend a boatload later.
Exactly with that case. Exactly that case. So stop buying Chinese turbo manifolds because they're going to fail.
Yeah. You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
Some things.
Yep, so I drilled out the crack on each end, basically stop crack, ground it out, cleaned it up, used some acetone, blah, blah, blah. Drilled out this side for the bung, and fits good.
Time
for
to
the
weld
oil.
it up.
Time to weld it up, yeah. So it's never fun welding cast aluminum that's been living in oil, but we got it done. I welded the return bung on the inside, and I fixed the crack. Small crack, I welded it on the inside and the outside, so she's ready to go.
Sweet, thanks.
Now time to make some more horsepower in that thing.
All right, time to go. Looks good. Thanks again, Dave.
Later,
Air high five again. All right, take her easy. All right, pan's all done. Go home, put it on sometime between today and tomorrow. I have this for a couple days. I don't know if anybody wants to see anything on this, but it might be interesting. I don't know how much you guys know about electric vehicles, but e-tron, pretty cool. Full electric, opens up. It's all fancy, crazy apparatuses. Anyway, I don't know if anybody wants to see anything on this, but I have it for about a week or so. So if you do, mention it in the comments. All right, I'm back out in the garage. This is taking quite a bit longer than what I wanted to do for this video. It's been like over a week now since last time I was in the garage, and then yesterday, which you'll see, Dave was welding up the pan for me. I did have to pick up a couple bolts that I didn't have at first this week, but anyway, I got everything I need now, got the pan welded up, and let's get to this. It's pretty sad that I'm using my Mark 1 as like a workbench. It's just the easiest thing to use. Just a couple 5mm Allens here. So pop that out, tight seal. And that's the seal I'm replacing. Could probably maybe reuse this, but for the sake of a couple dollars, why not put a new one on, get this all together, get oil in it, and it'd be a pain in the ass to have to change that later. So I'm just going to clean this up with a wire brush, just get the gunk from around it. It's pretty clean where the seal would sit, but might as well clean it while I'm here. Just give it a quick spray with some brake clean on this nice dirty rag. I recommend using clean rags, but whatever, use whatever you got. Again, I'll attach all the part numbers of all the parts I use. Not saying it's everything you need, and not saying I didn't miss anything, but this is what I'm going to be using for this swap. The seal just presses in. Oh, hey.
Hi.
Alright, so got the seal in there. Kayla's here to help me now a little bit with the filming. It's a little hard on tripod. This can really only go on one way. Just slam that in place. Really, like I was mentioning, you could just keep the oil level sensor in there, but I'm not using it, so I don't really see a reason to keep it in there. So I'm putting a little bit of Loctite on these bolts as well. Alright, so I'm going to try to pick out as much of the RTV as I can out of here, and then give it a quick scrape with the, or quick brush with the wire brush here, and try to get it cleaned up as much as possible. The more of this you can get out, the better it is to not have a leak in the future. But anyway, I'm going to get to it. So just to show you a comparison between the two pumps, obviously this is the old one that was on the vehicle. You can see the spacing between here, and then the spacing between the same spot on this one. I gotta clean the bottom of the block before I put some brake clean on that to get that cleaned up to get the pan on. So I'm gonna put that down there, and hopefully you guys can see. So being a cast, obviously cast block, you're not gonna really worry about scratching it up or gouging it, just because it's just a razor blade. It's not gonna do a whole lot of damage, but you do want to get it quite clean. Anyway, cleaned it up really good, took a wire brush to it, got the extra gunk off, took some brake clean to it, and now I'm going to grab the pump and get that in. It's just snug those, not super tight, and then snug these after obviously the oil pump itself was torqued, and then just kept going back and forth until it was everything matched up perfect, because there is a little bit of movement in this pipe and here. Obviously to match up properly, so you want to go a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, and then torque them down. So I'll put all the torque specs in the description below as well. And now it's just time. Oh, and I did prime the pump a little bit, although most of the oil just came back out. I did run a little bit of oil through it. So now I'm just going to brake clean around the rest of the block, put the baffle back in the new pan, and then put some sealant on and bolt it up. Alright, so now that I have the pump in, I'm just going to show you a couple more differences between the two pans. So obviously this was the old pan. It was pretty jacked up. So we first plated that up, that was a few years ago, and then it got some more cracks, so we had 2 more plates added on. So as you can see on the inside, it was smashed through in quite a few spots. So definitely time to upgrade. Also, just compared to the new pan, this is where you gain a little bit of volume for the oil. This is a big hole here, where this is a lot more shallow. So you're gonna get more oil volume here. This is where Dave welded it up for me. Just a small crack was there. And then again, the oil drain for the turbo. And then when we switch these over, or flip them over, I should say, you can see the amount of baffling that's in this one. So there's lots of walls here to keep the oil from sloshing around. So I bolted all that back in. That's just plastic. And this one is pretty wide open. There was a couple spots to keep it from sloshing around a bit, but really this is, to me, seems to be a lot better for the track use that we do. And then the other big thing, which I did show earlier, was the difference in height. Obviously you can tell it's quite a bit shorter, like substantially shorter. So pretty excited about that. Hopefully a lot more clearance. Hopefully we don't smash the pan on absolutely everything. I got the pan cleaned up, sprayed it with some brake clean around the edges as well as the bottom of the block. So I'm just going to put the sealant on. So you can use just a regular RTV, like a black RTV. I bought the stuff from Audi or Volkswagen. It works pretty good, and you get this little plunger thing to actually push it, sort of like a surgical needle. So anyway, I like it, so I'm going to use it, and it's fairly inexpensive too for what it is. So just run a small bead sort of in the middle as much as possible, and then I go on the inside of the bolt first. You don't have to go super thick with it. It's a machine surface that goes up against a machine surface, so it's very, very, very tight fit. So it squishes out quite a bit. If you go too much, it's just making a mess. Alright, so I got the pan back, buttoned up. Everything's good to go now. Got the oil return, the oil drain from the turbo hooked back up. So all the bolts are in. And yeah, it looks pretty good. And as you can see, or hopefully you can see, the subframe, the oil pan used to be as low as the subframe, and now it's quite a bit farther up. It's in line with sort of the transmission now, so hopefully that'll give us a bunch more room and a lot more ground clearance. We won't have any issues with smashing this pan off everything. Alright, so that's it for this one today. I do have a couple other things that I have to get done before I get it back on the ground. There's a charge pipe that I need to take a look at. Looks like the axle might have been hitting it a little bit. As well as I need to get oil, which I forgot to pick up. If you enjoyed this video, please like and let us know if you'd like to see more of this type of thing. Just a little bit of working in the garage and what we're working on. Make sure you subscribe as well. And that's going to be it. Stay safe.
You have a poppy seed in your teeth.
Stop recording. Alright, now that you saw my entire pry-bar collection that I have, squeeze your fat body and your little face back here and get them. Oh my god, I don't have any room. I should be wearing PPE as well. I know I'm wearing gloves. I would suggest putting something on for eyewear, but I didn't.
So. Are you doing the safety squint?
No, I'm just wide open. What was it, like 2 weeks ago I had something on my eye, Kayla? I had to go to the eye doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You should be wearing something.
I should be. Well, I'm wearing pants. Good thing about a leaking oil pan, though, is that it pretty much like undercoats the underside of your car. Just doesn't really smell that good once it hits the exhaust. Especially a nice big hot downpipe.